All right, he writes for Bowls.com. Sam Smith gave us the Jordan rules, among other treats that he's presented to us over the decades of covering the NBA. And Sam, you caught my attention with a trade proposal for the Lakers that I think addresses the biggest need that they have.
Well, Dan, you know me. I'm trying to help everybody. I want it to be, as Pete Rozelle once said, a 500 league for everybody. Everybody's competing. But yeah, I actually have heard a little bit about this one with Houston. Well, of course, as we know, Powell was already traded to Houston once.
Okay, well, give us the proposal for the Laker fans here so they understand, because I keep saying, forget worrying about your big man. You got to address your point guard situation here.
Right. No, and that's exactly it for a lot of reasons. But there would be Kyle Lowry and Luis Scola for Powell. The concept being that McHale and Houston's always talking about we have to have a star. McHale really likes Powell. They obviously traded for him once, trying to preseason. And the Lakers desperately need a point guard. They have a team built for Phil Jackson's triple post, which doesn't use a point guard primarily. And you also need a point guard, obviously, to play with Kobe the way. And less talked about a lot is Mike Brown, who, is a very good coach, a very solid coach, but he's not a strong guy as we saw with Cleveland. He lets his main guy overtake the team, and you need somebody to get the ball out of Kobe's hands and let him play off the ball as he should. And Houston, even though Lowry's having a terrific season, they really, it's not like they dislike him, but they really like Dragic, the guy they got from Phoenix, and Johnny Flynn. So I've heard, even though despite their objections to it, that they are willing to give up Lowry, who is a really tough guy. I liked him for years. Come out of draft, he hadn't been a chance to play. And Scola, you sort of replace Gasol, you get a power forward, and we can see they don't really use Powell right there with Bynum, and you get your point guard.
Give the strengths of Lowry, because I was surprised his numbers are that good, because before you go, Lowry, how good is he? I thought the numbers were pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's having a great season, and he's a guy who's been in a few places where he was back up, I think, primarily, Memphis. And one of the things about him is he's a really tough guy, and you need a tough guy to play with Kobe. I'd heard a great story even at the All-Star game the other day where they'd called something, and Kobe said, no, not running that. and just went and did something else.
Oops.
And, Mike Brown is not, especially first year there, calling him off. And this kid's really, he doesn't step back for anybody.
Will he be the leader, though? Would Kobe allow him to be the leader?
Whether he did or not, this is the kind of kid who, and there's not many guys like that, who wouldn't worry about having to please Kobe. He'd take the ball and make the play.
Yeah.
And really, you need a guy to play with Kobe, who I think probably is the toughest guy in the league to coach. And I think that's what maybe only Phil Jackson, because you have to be able to stand up to Kobe, tweak him a little bit like Phil did, be able to take his wrath, but then he'll come around and play. You see guys like this, and Lowry's really underappreciated for that.
What is he? He's 15.7, 8 assist guy.
Yeah, that's what he's been.
Yeah, and he's also a rebounding guard, too. I just think it makes sense because everybody wants the big ticket here where we're going to get Dwight Howard. I don't think the Lakers get Dwight Howard. I think Dallas or the Nets do, but, we'll see if, they're going to pull the trigger on it. What do you think happens with Dwight Howard?
Well, everything, even though it sounds sort of infantile, but, Dwight is like that a lot, that he really wants to be, the guy. He wants to be the main guy. And so I think the Magic, at least for this season, try to call his bluff.
Wow.
Say, look, rather than take a bad deal, maybe we hang on to him, even though every indication he certainly gave from this past weekend was he doesn't want to be there anymore. He really wasn't into that game at all, that All-Star game.
Well, he makes it sound like this is such a hardship, that he's, this, decision and everything. I think he's outgrown Orlando. I've said that for the last year and a half, that he sees himself as, I need to go and be something more than just a basketball player. I don't think he wants to share the spotlight with Kobe in L.A., and that's why I think he looks at the Nets. Hey, I can hang with Jay-Z. We're going into Brooklyn. We're going to be, something new about that. But I don't think Darren Williams wants to stay there. I think he wants to go to Dallas.
Yeah, I think on some level, Williams would like to go to Dallas with Howard, and I think you're right. I think you read it right that Howard wants the market, New York or Brooklyn. Me being from Brooklyn, I don't think it's the same, but they keep insisting that it is. So
it's just over the bridge, Sam. It's not that far from the city. But then you got the Knicks, who are now becoming a big story here. So they're going to continue to overshadow the Nets, even if Dwight Howard goes there.
No, absolutely. And there's still a different mindset from being in Brooklyn. It's almost like the same, thing being in Jersey. Is they got to the finals a couple of times. They had Jason Kidd, but they still didn't own the area. And so I have that sense. So, but we'll see. But Howard doesn't know that. I don't know. I doubt he's ever even been there.
What do you think the expectations are for Jeremy Lin second half, and what teams do to him in the second half?
Well, as I've watched him, unfortunately we've all heard too much about him, and he's handled it great. He's really obviously a terrific kid. But I think he's a legitimate NBA starting point guard, not an all-star type player, but a legitimate starter with the perfect coach for him. Yeah. Because he could spread the court. I think the expectations are going to turn more toward the team. That you've got Anthony, you've got Stoudemire. The kid has proven that he can play. And, teams will attack him a little bit. And now Anthony and Stoudemire, have to, start to not only work in with that, but have games. And now they really, to me, have the potential to be the scary playoff team. Not good enough to go all the way, but really in position to knock somebody off. If you get hot, shoot the ball, the way the D'Antoni teams do. And you see with D'Antoni teams, look at a guy like Ray Felton who played point and was looking like a really hot player in New York last year, and all of a sudden in Portland now, and they hate him. And so,
hate's a strong word there, Sam.
Yeah, they really hate him.
Okay, now who's more likely to get dealt, Steve Nash or Rajon Rondo?
I think Rondo. I think Ainge is pretty close. They squeaked by last night, but Ainge is pretty close to wanting to pull the trigger. As much as they try. And I think everything's changed for Rondo a lot when they dealt Perkins, really bothered him. And he and Doc do not get along well. And that's their piece, as much as say, Ray Allen or Kevin Garnett. But their contracts are running out. So I think if he can, Ainge is going to try to make a big splash with Rondo.
Nash, no way he's traded?
It's hard with his money, 10 or 11 million. For Phoenix to get back something, it's not a great situation there, and they literally need to have somebody to sell tickets to come and watch. Unless you can get something worthwhile, really worthwhile. And I don't know, with his money and with his contract expiring, if you can get enough to justify for Phoenix to say, look, we're just going to give away the only player we've got that anybody wants to pay money to watch.
Let's see. What I was going to say. Oh, you said, before I let you go, that the Lakers and Rockets have discussed this deal, or I know that they were going to have, Gasol and Luis Scola already in a deal, but
yeah, this one sort of been out there, and teams that they've denied it. The other team I heard most over the weekend, and I assumed it's Monta Ellis, but I heard a lot from Golden State. That they were not only anxious to do something, they were close to doing something. But I didn't hear details. My guess was it's Monta Ellis because
to who?
I don't know where. There's a lot of places. One place I thought would be Utah because They've needed a two guard basically since Hornacek's been there. And maybe Al Jefferson, because they've got these two young bigs in Favors and Cantor. They're starting fading now. They were fading before the break. I think they lost 13-19. And Golden State's been just anxious. They've tried every big guy. They tried, Gasol. They've tried Chandler. They were in the hunt for everybody. There's rumors that they'll trade for Howard, even though he tells them, he won't re-sign there. So they're really anxious, and Jerry West there's anxious really to do something to shake things up, get attention. And so I can see them, involved in some of this, but I didn't hear specifically which one it is.
Good to visit with you as always, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, bud. Sam Smith, Bulls.com.